Matt Taibbi, the Rolling Stone contributing editor and Countdown contributor, joins me now here at Control. Good to see you, sir.
Good evening, Keith.
All right, so you decided you were writing about this and hadn't seen it, didn't know what it was, and you literally just hopped on a train from Boston to go see it?
Well, yeah. I mean, I decided to check it out this afternoon.
What'd you see?
Well, I think there's about 1,000 people that I counted down there today, and the sign that I thought most accurately represented the whole thing. I can't really say the actual words on air, but there was a sign that said "Bleep is bleeped up," and I think that kind of generally sums up what it is. It's a generalized protest. People are angry about something, and they kind of generally understand that Wall Street is somehow behind the problems, but they don't know exactly why.
And many of those who are saying and pushing to keep this non-specific have said, look, Tahrir Square, Cairo, we brought down the Mubarak government. By the time that really had its impact, they were very specific about what they wanted. They wanted freedom for a nation that was obviously being wildly suppressed, and violence against those protesters. What is seldom known, and to the credit of this network, was begun to be reported on here on Vanguard in 2006, was that those Tahrir Square demonstrations started with 50, 60 people just saying, we want things to be better. So is there in fact some reason for them to believe that this is the root of something? Has the last week and a half suggested that they actually grew something there in that time?
You know what, I think so. I mean, I thought about this a lot.
Sure.
Obviously, you know, it's not 100,000 extremely desperate people chewing through brick walls with their teeth. You know, it's 1,000 college students having a sleep-in right now. But the reality is that there's a lot of real anger out there, and the movement is growing organically, I think, just because people know that there's something to protest now, and they're coming out, and all these people are distressed, and there is enough real distress and desperation out there that this could transform into a real movement where there's enough really angry people to scare people in power.
And of all people, you would know that they didn't just pick something at random, like saying, we don't like cobblestone streets downtown, that's the cause of every American problem. There is so much wrong with Wall Street, and as you wrote, any movement against Wall Street corruption will have to involve some very elaborate organization. Is this something that could conceivably grow into that, or merely an inspiration for something else that might grow into that?
Well, I think what this could do is that it could provide the political support for those activists who are trying to change very specific things about how Wall Street operates. Obviously, this is a crowd that doesn't know a whole lot about how, for instance, the derivatives market works. But there's enough anger out there that people who are trying to reform the derivatives market could point and say, look, there are protests out there. We need to do something because the public won't take it anymore.
What about the move towards other, we cited the one in Los Angeles today, 70 was the low end of one estimate, a couple of hundred was another, all the ones on slate for tomorrow, the rest of this week, big towns, small towns. Are they interconnected, or are they being inspired by each other?
Well, I think clearly this one seems a little different to me because it's supposedly specifically directed towards Wall Street, and it's at Wall Street, and so thematically it should be different. But I think, you know, it has a lot in common with the Tea Party movement that popped up a couple of years ago, which is, you know, somebody gave people an excuse to come out in the streets and organize and show their anger, and all of a sudden there were millions of people. I think that could really happen here because there is enough discomfort out there that, you know, those numbers will be there.
All right. Where are they relative to media coverage? I don't want to pat everybody on the back here too much, but we were essentially the first people to do this on national television at any length in the context of a news program, and it seems to have been some pickup. But what are people covering, and you know, is the message being delivered by the media? Is it being thwarted by the media? Do you have any perception of that?
You know, obviously I covered a lot of Tea Party events in the early going, and you know, it seems like every time there was a decent-sized event, there were always live trucks everywhere. And,
a loud cough.
Exactly. And this one, you know, there are a few reporters. There's a setup there for the media, but it's not anywhere near the numbers you saw on the other side.
You made the reference, I've done it before, you're the expert on it, not me. If those were Tea Party protesters in Wall Street for the last week and a half complaining about welfare, complaining about stimulus packages, demanding the ouster of Ben Bernanke, what kind of coverage would that get, do you think?
I think it would get a lot of coverage, but interestingly, there are some Tea Partiers there. I mean, there are Ron Paul supporters there in some numbers, and, you know, they're being ignored too. So I think that's worth pointing out.
Maybe there just aren't enough funny hats. So we're going to be having a telethon here on Current to raise money for funny hats for Occupy Wall Street, to try to just sell the media presence a little bit. The Rolling Stone contributing editor and Countdown contributor Matt Taibbi with the perspective on Occupy Wall Street. Great, thanks for it, Matt.
Thank
Good
you.
to see you as always.